Hey everybody, I'm Jeff Pollard at solarpoweredpeople.org and Jeff Pollard 11 on Instagram. Have another great tale with another great person. Please, who are you? Tell me something about yourself.
Hi, Jeff. It's a pleasure being here with you today. My name is Gina Herrera. I am an artist. I've been an artist all my life, but what's really unique about me is I am a military veteran of 25 years. But I've always been an artist since I was a child, but I've been more of a professional artist for the last 10 years.
Okay.
And my work is really focused on environmental consciousness. And as you can see behind me, these are some of my works. And they use a lot of found materials
Okay.
and fabrics and trinkets, and some of my military insignia is included inside my sculptures.
Okay. How do you find your stuff? Now you say find materials, you don't have to give away any secrets, but is it just kind of like walking through a junkyard or like things you find at a park or hand-me-downs or just anything?
Well, it's interesting you asked me that. It's just everywhere. Sometimes when I'm bike riding or hiking, I find things. But a lot of the fabrics and material I use are my family. That includes my mom and dad and my husband and myself. And then sometimes people donate things to me. I have my assistant. She had a young boy, but he's now like 12 years old. But she gave me a lot of his like childhood stuff. When he was a baby. So I utilized some of that. And I go to the thrift store, as you can see, little Barbie up there. I like to include things that people recognize and they can associate with and have some kind of connection with.
Now, when you said you kind of grew up like this, does this mean your family were a bunch of artists too, or how did that come to be? What is being an artist since, day one mean?
Well, my grandmother on my father's side from Tesuque Pueblo, she was the artist. She used to make handmade clay pottery. But I never was old enough to learn from her because she died very early. Um, and so I just somehow had it inside me. And really none of my cousins are artists on my dad's side, but on my mom's side, there are some more musicians. But I'm not a musician at all. So
Okay.
when I was younger, my mom tried to put me in all kinds of classes, and I got kicked out because I was a kind of a little bit of a rebellious kid. And finally, I found a friend who took on private art classes, and I was just so excited. And that's really where it started. That moment I went into that class.
Okay. I always like to, have fun with these, mentioning the geographical locations where you're in Oregon, the Portland area, correct?
Well, that was from my solo show. I don't live there. I
Okay.
was just only there for a show, but originally I am from Chicago. But I've been living in California for 19 years. Uh,
Are you in California now?
yes, I am in California, but I live in Bakersfield, which is central.
Oh, okay. You're
I'm
not too far.
only an hour and a half north of you. So
Oh, that's
yeah,
awesome.
yeah,
Okay. I guess I misread those pictures and all that. That's awesome. Hey, so she gets it. She's from California. Welcome back.
yeah.
Um, so I usually when people do like found when they find something to put in their art, that's usually what shapes it. Is that kind of the case where you find something and then you want to be creative around that, or do you have an idea and then you just make it work?
Well, sometimes, like with this piece, there's like a little rod that's sticking up. And for the longest time, I didn't know what I wanted to put on there. So sometimes it happens like that, that I'm looking for a specific piece. And sort of like this little duck over here, I made like a hammock out of pull tabs. And so I made this little thing, and then I'm like thinking, well, what am I going to put into? And I did find that little rubber ducky on the street. So I adopted it and I made him into the little hammock. So sometimes it just happens like that. But overall, when I make my sculpture, I just weld an armature. I don't have any kind of like drawings. I just take rebars and metal and I just weld it together. And then that just becomes like the skeleton form. And then after that, that's when I start adding and bulking, wrapping and all that stuff. And then that's when I start to decide. But like this one you can't really see, but there is a mannequin leg. So I had the mannequin leg and then I made my armature from that. So sometimes I'll have a part and then that's how it starts the conversation of how I'm going to build my sculpture.
I know that each project's a little different, but roughly how long do these take, especially with the welding and all that?
Well, it really depends how intricate. Sometimes some sculptures come together very quickly, you know. I might weld something together and it's like boom, it's ready to go. And then there's some it takes me a while, but I did make a sculpture that's at the Los Angeles Municipal Gallery, which is on right now at the Barnes and all. And that sculpture I made in a week.
Oh, wow.
But I did have parts like what I usually do like with my work is I do like production. Like my rebar, I would have like a bunch of rebar and I go on a vise and I would, twist it and turn it and make it certain shapes. So I'll make like a whole bunch of them. And then that's when I start to create my sculpture, or I plasma cut some things like this is plasma cutting, or the one above me. I would plasma cut a bunch of pieces like that. And that's when I kind of put together, it's almost like I'm putting together a puzzle.
Okay.
But like this one behind me, this is really large. This one took me like several weeks to do because it was a lot of steps to it.
Okay. Now, was the welding aspect learned in the military? Did you learn that prior, after? Just kind of
It was
curious.
it was after.
Okay.
Because when I was in grad school, I made my sculptures with PVC pipe, and it worked for a while. But then when I was trying to play with balance and movement, as my sculpture started getting taller, it wasn't holding it. So then somebody said, well, you're going to have to start to learn to weld. So I learned to weld a little bit and when I was in graduate school, but I think I started to learn a little bit more when I took certain workshops. And I remember there used to have been a place in Glendale, which they closed because of COVID. And
Mm.
that's when I learned how to plasma cut.
Oh,
And
okay.
now I'm plasma cutting I love plasma cutting. It's like, drawing with fire and things like that.
That's a whole kind of world I want to get into to some degree because it's just beyond me.
It's really fun. I mean, if you're, because like all these things that I plasma cut, I just draw it on the steel with a special chalk and then I just cut it. I don't make a pattern. I don't draw, beforehand, say, okay, this is what I'm gonna do. I just free form. I mean, pretty much all my sculpture and all my work is all free form.
Okay. Now, can you talk about a project you're currently doing or a goal that you want to do? Is there anything where you want to do like a different medium outside of the sculpting, and or like what is the current project you're doing? I want to hear about both.
Well, curious. I am just gonna jump off my seat for a second and I will show you something. Hold on.
Okay.
All right. Well, here we go. I'm back. I got
Hey.
my so been working on casting my body parts. And this is concrete that I've inserted a rebar while it's drying. So I'm starting something like this. So this was my first pour, and I've casted a part of my leg. And then, hold on, another one.
That's so cool.
I came up with another process where it's another hand. It is concrete, but this is not color concrete. So you can see it's pretty cool. It's like really real, but I use like an alginate, which, the one that they do dental impression.
Oh, okay.
And then I stuck my hand, let it dry. Once it's dried, then my husband and I poured concrete, mix it up, and we put it in there.
Ah,
So this is something that I'm playing around with because I have a solo show coming up
okay.
at 825 LA Art Association, and the opening will be March 23rd. And so I'm trying to make another sculpture incorporating maybe like a hand.
Okay.
Because my other sculpture has a foot, so I want to do a hand. but I am still kind of figuring out if it's going to be mixed media or is it going to be an all plasma cut metal.
Oh,
And then on the other two sides, it's going to be, I want to paint, because I have like these things. Hold on 1 second. I'll show you. All right.
oh man, look at the coil in the back. I love this artwork too.
So what I did was I went to a supply sergeant in Burbank and I bought uniforms. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint on these uniforms.
Okay.
So I did like this one here. I mean, you can't tell, but there's a clear gesso on it. So it allows me to do some oil painting because I haven't painted in a while.
Okay.
So those top parts going to be one, like I'm going to do one on the blue one. I'm going to do like a sea turtle. And then on the bottom, it's going to be like the silhouette of one of my sculptures.
Okay.
So I'm sort of like pushing myself in a little bit different direction, but it's also going to incorporate found material. So the only part that's going to be painted is a painting, but it is recycled idea. You know, I'm using this a recycled fabric, a recycled uniform.
Now, do you ever collaborate? And if so, do you do it with other vets or like other vet artists, or is it just anybody or anything or
Well, I'm always open to a collaboration. I know there's a guy, Christopher, that he has a vet theater in New York. He's thinking that maybe we're going to collaborate. And there's also a organization down in Southern California that we might collaborate. So it's an eventual. And then there's a guy that's in the Royal Academy of Art. His name
Okay.
is Jeffrey. So we're trying to do a veterans show
Very cool.
in London.
I know
So
that's not, entirely your identity. I'm just always curious how much you kind of like intermingle past things and just, who you once were, who you are, stuff like that. So that's all I mean by, but you could have been, collaborating with artists that aren't vets. It's just curiosity of mine.
well, I think now since I've been out for 7 years and with the Palestine war, kind of like regurgitated some feelings and emotions. So I'm
Mm.
sort of commenting on those things, in a subtle way, um,
Yeah,
things like that. So I mean, I have the freedom now to speak and voice what I feel about, war and politics. I don't have to be silenced anymore. So
yeah,
but I try not to get too political. I mean, I
sure,
just I just want to have fun. I
sure,
just want
sure.
to play and because the world's so serious. There's so much sadness. I mean, I'm a high school teacher too, and I see a lot of anxiety and depression among my students, and it's kind of sad. When I was their age, I mean, I was having fun,
Yeah,
enjoying life, but there was no technology. Life was much more, getting together, being friends, hanging out, going to a friend's house. Now everything's about, this thing here.
exactly.
And it's kind of wiping away people's identity.
Wow.
People are becoming like clones. They don't have no way imagination or creativity. So I'm really trying as a teacher to, I don't allow cell phones in my class. So they have 2 hours where they have no phone. So I'm like, you need to start thinking with this,
Yeah,
uh, and be more imaginative, to be a child. That's the beauty of being young.
yeah.
Just joy and embrace that, because you got the whole rest of your life to be an old person.
No, I love that. I love that a lot. I want to kind of end this real quick with can you tell me a little bit about Aftertime Collective?
Well, After Time Collective is a art gallery up in Portland, Oregon,
Okay.
and Todd Molinari is the lead. And the funny thing was, we went to grad school together.
Ah,
We haven't seen each other for 10 years. And we did a Trist and Nomad show down in Torrance, which was last year, not too long ago. And we met again somehow. So I figure it was fate. And so that's how it evolved. And I'm part of that collective. And basically what an artist collective is artists who do not have representations at a gallery. And
Yeah.
they make their own place and they make their own shows. And what they do, we do exchanges, with other art collectives, in other countries, other states. So that's what we're working on. We're working on trying to build that network and, because I know a lot of times there's a lot of great artists that are not representative. And,
Yeah.
sometimes we're not lucky enough to get into a gallery. But it's our way of representing ourselves, and say, hey, we're here, we're
Yeah.
not silent and stuff.
Yeah.
So, but it's a
Well,
great space up in Oregon. It's in downtown Oregon. And so I have my solo show up there till January 20th. And I was able to meet the mayor. So it was kind of cool.
that is cool. No, I love the Portland area. Only visited once, but it's cool.
Oh yeah.
Thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank you, Gina. Thank you for telling your story and to talk to show us everything about this. This is awesome. Your artwork and your sculpting is beautiful. Yeah, so all her information will be found where information can be found in the bio links and all that stuff. Please support where you can, say hi, check out her artwork, purchase something if you can. Gina, thank you so much.
Thank you so much. And you can always DM me. I always like to talk to people.
Perfect. All right, take care, everybody.
Hey everybody, guess what? I wrote an illustrated children's book. I am super excited for this. It's a great book, so please support, please buy, please do whatever you feel like doing. The Giraffe and the Lion, find it anywhere. Thanks everybody.